I'm marrying a 20-year-old employee. We haven't registered our marriage, and there is no property division.
Lucas's eyes gleamed as if to say he had pulled off a great prank.
Ha ha ha. You didn't know, did you? Turns out we're not actually married. Not a couple at all. We never filed for marriage, so you have no right to blame me for cheating.
Lucas and I had lived together as a married couple for 3 years. His unusually broad grin now was simply irritating.
Thanks a lot for taking care of my mom. Now that you're no longer needed, let's say we're just ending our cohabitation, not getting a divorce?
His confession had truly taken me by surprise. It's a joke, right? I wanted him to say it was just a joke. I was overwhelmed with disbelief. What? You didn't know? The more he laughed, the calmer I became. If anyone was mistaken or uninformed, it was Lucas. I am Isabella Abel, 32 years old. I've been a CO's wife for 3 years. We don't have any children. You might think that sounds like the life of an elegant lady, but in reality, my days are quite demanding.
Straighten your back.
Oh, yes, Amy. Amy's remark made me straighten my back immediately. I responded automatically to Amy's voice, even though I was just folding laundry at home. I wasn't in public or at a meal. The home I shared with Amy wasn't a place where I could relax. I met my husband, Lucas, about 5 years ago at a hospital. It all started when Lucas's mother, now known as Amy, was hospitalized after suffering a minor stroke. I was a nurse at the hospital. Amy was paralyzed on one side and couldn't move freely. Despite her difficult hospital stay, she always seemed unfazed. She showed respect not only to doctors, but also to us nurses and even the part-time workers at the shop. Even afflicted by illness, she maintained her dignity. She was known around here as the wife of a prominent business owner. True to form for a CO's wife, I admired her. Gradually, Amy remembered my name, and we grew closer, leading to an arranged marriage with her only son, Lucas.
I'm home.
Welcome back. How was your business trip?
Yeah.
Around the time we got married, Lucas's father, Joseph, passed on the CO position to Lucas. Having nearly retired, my in-laws and I live together, and I support the family in my role as a housewife.
Here. Some souvenirs. Have them with mom during tea time.
Thank you as always. Lucas is 40 this year. He had his fair share of girlfriends, but never settled down until Amy pushed him to marry me. He is well-behaved and hardworking. He always brings souvenirs for me when he travels. It's hard to imagine why such a wonderful man hadn't married until his late 30s, but of course, there's a reason. His true personality is problematic. I am tired. After finishing my tasks for the day, I entered the bedroom and sat on the bed. As I sank into the soft bed, I let out a deep sigh. At that moment, Lucas, who seemed to be asleep next to me, turned towards me.
What was that?
Sorry, just tired.
Why are you tired?
The calmness Lucas had shown in the living room just moments ago was gone, and he questioned me rapidly.
Come on, answer me. Isabella isn't even working. So why are you tired?
My day is actually quite hard. I start preparing breakfast at 6 a.m., then move on to housework. In between, I have to help Amy, who is physically disabled. Our home is remodeled to be accessible, and though it's equipped for wheelchair use, Amy tries to walk on her own as much as she can. If that were all, maybe it wouldn't be so tough. But on Amy's suggestion, I attend classes for flower arranging, cooking, and etiquette. I also work at Lucas's company doing office tasks for half a day on 2 or 3 weekdays, so my schedule is packed. I don't have the luxury of enjoying spa treatments or afternoon tea like the elegant wives you see on TV dramas. And with Amy's watchful eyes always on me, taking a quick rest on the sofa is out of the question.
Housework and helping mom are just part of being a daughter-in-law, right? The classes are just hobbies. If Isabella had been more sensible and learned some manners earlier, you wouldn't need to do them now, right? And the office work at my company. You're not seriously saying you're working just by helping out with the family business, are you?
Lucas laughed as if appalled. The tension had finally eased, but now my back ached from being hunched over. Too weary to argue, I stayed silent, and Lucas looked pleased as if he had won the argument. I used to complain to Lucas about being tired without any time to rest, but I've stopped. It's useless, and it just wears me out more. Indeed, every day is tough. Yet, I keep going because I see the results.
Excuse me, Isabella, do you have a moment?
Amy called me with a stern voice, and I braced myself, thinking I had done something wrong.
The flowers you arranged in the entryway are really beautiful. They truly reflect your generous and kind nature.
Being praised by the strict Amy made me feel twice, even 3 times the joy. At first, I was often scolded and cried many nights. Finally, I am starting to behave in a way that isn't embarrassing for a CEO's wife. However, Lucas dislikes acting as a couple. He even rejects the idea of attending parties where it's normal for couples to go together, saying it's embarrassing to show up with you. I find it more embarrassing to be seen as a wife who doesn't support her CEO husband, but he ends the matter with just pretend to be sick that day. Our meeting at the hospital has been twisted in the telling, and with my naturally pale and slim appearance, I am now perceived as a frail wife. I was recognized as a person who was rarely seen in public. He was well known by those around him as a kind husband who cared about his wife's health. He laughs behind my back, and I'm sure he's cheating. During my busy days, I've noticed something. Lipstick marks on his white shirts. And it's not just once or twice. It's a clear provocation from his mistress. It seems I'm being mocked even by his mistress. I meticulously hand-wash the shirt stains, but a faint pink hue remains.
Lipstick on my shirt. I don't know. Maybe it got there from one of the hostess bars during business entertaining.
I've confronted him about the lipstick. Yet, Lucas was completely unfazed. The lipstick was on the inside of the shirt, where it wouldn't get unless he took off his clothes.
Are you suspecting me of cheating? I am cheating. So what? Is that bad?
I was determined not to let him get away with it, but Lucas's carefree and confident demeanor choked my voice.
Just kidding. I don't have time to cheat. I'm a super busy CEO, after all, with business trips and entertaining clients. Oh, I have another trip next week. Gee, I might collapse from overwork. I'm not like you, with time on your hands to imagine weird things. You say terrible things when I'm working day and night just to feed you. But what if I really was cheating? What would you do about it? Divorce me, even though you don't have a job?
What did I even hope to achieve by confronting Lucas about his cheating? I expected a simple sorry or maybe a sulk. But I never expected him to tease me with such glee. It stopped my thoughts. The word divorce flashed through my mind. But I didn't have the time to think deeply or the energy to act. Life just continued as busy as usual. One day, I was scolded by Amy.
You are Lucas's wife. As his wife, and as a member of our family, act in a way that isn't embarrassing.
Perhaps she noticed I was acting distant and strange towards Lucas. Amy's words weighed heavily on my already burdened heart. Then, Amy even made a harsh suggestion.
Isabella, you need to work more.
Work more. I'm already exhausted. I thought I was handling the housework perfectly, but what impossible demands would she come up with next?
You should work at our company, not just a few days a week, but more. From now on, help with Lucas's work.
Amy said this matter-of-factly. Without thinking, I blurted out, I can't do it. It's impossible. It was the first time I saw Amy's mouth hang open in shock. Although my brain was telling me not to say it, my mouth moved on its own. I can't take it anymore. It's too much. A daughter-in-law isn't free labor. I'm not a handy tool to be used for free, especially without even getting a salary. My voice broke midway. It's shameful to cry like this as an adult in front of others. But the pent-up feelings just overflowed. In fact, I've been forced to work for free at Lucas's company. Even though I received plenty of living expenses, I felt overwhelmed by the lack of labor compensation.
What did you say?
Then Amy's face twisted in anger, and I was told an unexpected fact and plan from Amy's mouth. Eventually, under Amy's strong suggestion, I prioritized working. I stopped the classes, but with no breaks. I still had to manage the housework and support Amy while working. The busier I was, the easier it was to forget Lucas's betrayal. However, one night, Lucas's greatest betrayal came to light.
Can you just leave?
Out of the blue, in our bedroom late at night, as I was almost asleep, I forced my heavy eyelids open. Lucas stood arms crossed, looking down at me. Why? I'm already sleeping. If you don't like sharing a room, you can sleep in the guest room tonight. Waking me up just to kick me out felt like petty harassment. Lucas was grinning like he was up to something. Probably he had been drinking. That's why he became overconfident and started causing trouble.
You're mistaken. It's not this room I want you out of. It's this house.
I rubbed my eyes and tilted my head. Lucas lifted his chin and smiled with satisfaction.
Just get up now. You shouldn't be here anymore. Just leave now. It's a divorce. Oh, wait. Maybe not a divorce.
He was saying strange things. I was still groggy, so I couldn't understand what he meant. Suddenly talking about divorce. Why? Did you fall for your affair partner? It felt almost like a dream. Lucas was smiling, not scary at all, so I just asked him straight out. I feared Lucas might explode, but his reaction was to burst into laughter. Clapping his hands and holding his stomach, he laughed hysterically.
No way. You got it all wrong. You have no business talking about whether I'm cheating. You're making one big mistake. Did you really not know? You wouldn't have known, right?
Suddenly, he threw another bombshell at me.
I'm marrying a 20-year-old employee. We haven't registered our marriage, and there is no property division.
Lucas, still laughing uncontrollably, shook his shoulders but puffed out his chest as he dropped this huge revelation. What? I was dumbstruck, lost for words.
You didn't know, right? Turns out we're not actually married. Not a couple at all. We never filed for marriage, so you have no right to blame me for cheating. You look silly with your mouth hanging open, Isabella. It's understandable, though, getting such shocking news.
Lucas's eyes gleamed as if he had pulled off a great prank. We had lived together as a married couple for 3 years. Now, he reveals it was all a prank.
Remember our supposed wedding day? On our anniversary, I submitted a marriage certificate as a surprise. Nope, that was a lie. Never filed it. So, Isabella, you are not a wife, just a freeloader.
His smile was more unpleasant than I had ever seen. Is he happy about marrying a young girl? Or just enjoying tormenting me? Either way, it was a displeasing grin.
Thanks a lot for taking care of my mom. Your support in her rehab meant she could live a somewhat normal life again. Really appreciate it. Now that you're no longer needed, let's call it quits on living together. Not a divorce, since there's no marriage. No messy alimony or property division necessary. Just pack up and leave. That would be great.
Lucas, laughing so hard tears appeared, wiped the corner of his eye. The more he laughed, the calm I became. If anyone was mistaken or uninformed, it was Lucas. You didn't know anything?
What?
Finally, I managed to speak. Lucas continued to mock me with his smile. Hearing his confession, I was genuinely shocked from the bottom of my heart. It's a lie, right? I wanted him to say it was just a joke. We're not married?
That's right.
That can't be true. I held my head in disbelief.
I understand you don't want to believe it, but I never had romantic feelings for you, so I never intended to marry. Well, I needed someone to take care of my mom, and I was getting older, so I thought I might as well keep you around to play the part of a wife.
Unbelievable.
Yep, hard to believe. But I'm tired of laughing now, so accept the reality.
It seemed Lucas's laughter was settling down. He must have felt satisfied after demeaning me so much. No, I can't believe it. However, I was still in shock. Lucas, satisfied on his own terms, began to show irritation towards me, who couldn't catch up.
What's wrong with you? We're not married. Get out. Even a slow old lady should understand that. I can't make it any simpler.
Not that. Taking a breath, I said, "It's unbelievable that you thought we weren't married." I looked him straight in the eyes. If we weren't married, why would my last name be the same as yours, Abel? I've been to the hospital several times for colds, and even though I've renewed my driver's license, I've lived as Isabella Abel for 3 years. There's no way we're not married. Now it was Lucas's turn to look perplexed. You thought you could deceive me for years just because we didn't file a marriage certificate. Such a lie would obviously get exposed soon. Didn't you seriously realize that? I thought it would come out during hospital visits or official procedures. Lucas's gaze shifted uneasily from side to side. It seemed he finally realized that he was no longer the one laughing, but the one being laughed at. Wow, I really can't believe this. Lucas's plan was ridiculously foolish. He might act like a respectable CEO to the outside world, but I began to wonder just how empty his head could be.
Were you tricking me?
For some reason, Lucas staggered back, playing the victim. I wasn't trying to trick you. I never imagined that you believed we weren't married.
No way. So when did you realize we weren't married?
The day after Lucas surprised me by supposedly filing our marriage registration.
What? Have you known since then?
Lucas reeled back in shock, and I was just as surprised. We had started living with his parents about a month before our supposed registration, planning to officially register our marriage on a significant date like Christmas or a birthday because Lucas uncharacteristically wanted something romantic. However, he kept delaying, and then suddenly we were married on our anniversary. I always wondered why you insisted on choosing the date we first watched a movie together for our marriage. I didn't even remember such a trivial anniversary. You just made it up to cover things up. Lucas shrank in size, hunching his shoulders. I continued steadily without much emotion. But the next day, I found our marriage certificate in a pile of old newspapers. I was really puzzled why a supposedly submitted marriage certificate was still here.
Puzzled?
As Lucas tilted his head, the bedroom door swung open. I straightened my back in surprise. There stood Amy.
Yes, it was very strange. I found the unsubmitted marriage certificate.
I hastily jumped out of bed and rushed over to Amy, who was leaning against the wall. Helping her up, Amy directed a sharp gaze at Lucas.
In disbelief over such an oversight, Isabella and I went to submit the marriage certificate ourselves. I never thought it was intentionally unsubmitted. How unfaithful of you.
Reprimanded by Amy, Lucas completely changed his demeanor. Suddenly, he fell to the floor and started shouting apologies.
I'm sorry. It's not what you think. I just wasn't ready to marry yet. But I intended to eventually.
Even though you've been acting like you were deceiving Isabella up until now.
Lucas frantically searched for his next excuse and yelled again.
It's not that. I forgot we weren't married.
You forgot what you just said. You were the one who claimed we weren't married. Your loud voice could be heard outside the room.
Lucas's mouth opened and closed, but no excuses came out. His eyes welled up in panic.
But, Mom.
He was going to kick me out and happily marry a young affair partner. He expected his parents to welcome his young and cute partner. Lucas probably imagined happily marrying. Now, unable to quickly kick me out and scolded by Amy, his confusion was apparent. It seems like someone who cheats has a brain full of fantasies and can't accurately predict others' reactions.
No more excuses. It's disgraceful. The harsh words you first threw at Isabella were the truth, weren't they?
Mom, I'm sorry.
Amy sternly grabbed Lucas's head, forcing him to look up. His lips trembled.
Are you apologizing to the wrong person?
Oh, no?
When Amy released her grip, Lucas collapsed to the floor like a marionette with cut strings.
If you want to be with that other woman, sincerely apologize to Isabella and get a proper divorce. You're the one at fault, so you'll be paying alimony. And don't forget about the property division either.
Lucas's ragged breathing was audible.
I'm sorry. Isabella?
He apologized in a muffled voice, his face buried in the floor. It didn't sound heartfelt.
Mom, you're my mom, right? Don't side with a stranger.
The next moment, a sharp slap rang out. Amy had smacked Lucas's head. Surprised, Lucas looked up just in time to receive another slap from Amy's open hand. Without any hesitation, Amy struck his cheek fiercely. The usually calm Amy was now furiously raising her hand like a demon. Even though Lucas was the one being hit twice, I too tensed up.
Mom, why are you hitting me?
Who's a stranger? Isabella is your wife, my daughter.
Amy raised her voice in my defense. Lucas, if it's divorce you want, that's fine. I was prepared for that. I smiled at Lucas, who was cornered. This seemed to relax his tension slightly. I hope you find happiness marrying that 20-year-old girl.
Thank you, Isabella. You weren't a bad woman. May you find happiness in your next marriage. Oh, that might be difficult. You're already past 30, right?
Just when things were somewhat amiable, Lucas couldn't seem to wish me well. He must naturally look down on me. Hearing a heavy sigh from Amy, as if gathering strength, Lucas shrunk back again.
Just as Isabella said, get a proper divorce and start a new life with the woman you love. There's no need to continue a failed marriage.
Yeah, maybe that's best.
Allowed by Amy to marry his mistress, Lucas beamed.
Isabella, I'm really sorry.
Lucas came up to me and apologized to me. However, he whispered in my ear,
No matter what, Mom still loves her real son more than someone else's wife.
Startled, I dodged aside and Lucas smirked. Amy, you love a son like this? I pointed at Lucas and asked Amy directly. Lucas flistered, tried to deny it, but Amy was right beside me and had heard him.
What are you talking about?
Amy's fist was trembling. Next, it seemed a clenched fist might fly instead of an open hand.
No, I just meant Mom's on my side because we're family. Because we're parent and child. Besides, Mom has always been harsh on Isabella. It's because she's an outsider, right? Even now, you're just pretending to take her side because she's an outsider, aren't you?
Lucas clung to Amy. Faced with such selfish reasoning, Amy coldly replied,
I was harsh on Isabella because I had expectations of her becoming suitable for the Abel family. If I didn't care, I would have ignored her, like I do with you, Lucas. I knew about your affair all along, but didn't scold you before it blew up like this. Maybe I let Isabella suffer more than she should have, but I never disliked her, you understand.
Amy held my hand, and I nodded deeply. From the moment Amy told me to work harder, I knew her feelings. That's why I could overcome any difficulty.
Lucas, you seem to be misunderstanding again, but I want nothing to do with your new life. Go live it with the woman you love.
What?
You throw away Isabella, your parents, and the company you inherited from your father, and you enjoy your new life. Oh, don't worry about me, Isabella. You'll stay by our side even if you divorce Lucas, won't you?
Asked by Amy, I nodded firmly.
And you don't need to worry about the company either.
What?
I'm passing it on to my daughter.
Daughter? But I'm an only child.
Despite his words, Lucas's wide eyes were fixed on me. Amy also looked at me with a kind gaze. As I alternated my gaze between the two, I nodded again. Yes, I will protect the precious company that Joseph and Amy have built. Upon understanding the situation, Lucas collapsed to his knees. My in-laws had planned to disown their biological son and make me, their daughter-in-law, the successor of the company.
Just for an affair, you'd go this far, choosing someone else's wife over me.
Well, maybe for just one mistake, they wouldn't take the CEO's chair away. But you see, I know everything.
Lucas swallowed hard. Then, slowly, Lucas's father, Joseph, made his appearance. The color drained from Lucas's face, which had been defiant until now.
Lucas, being the CEO doesn't mean you're the most important person in the company, allowed to do whatever you want. I've heard all about your misdeeds. I may have retired, but that doesn't mean I've cut off all ties with the company.
Even after retiring, Joseph was seldom at home. He seemed to have been supporting the company from behind the scenes.
Is playing women fun? I heard you talk to new female employees at random. If you go out with them on a date, give them an expensive gift. And those who didn't comply, you pressured under presidential orders, I suppose. Either way, I've heard that female employees are quitting one after another. The environment is so bad that even male employees and those who have been there for years are leaving.
Lucas trembled pathetically, at a loss for words. In front of the imposing Joseph, he quieted down.
Moreover, you're using too much overtime and business trips for personal use. I'm aware that most of these are not for work. What have you been doing? Taking young female employees along?
Lucas hung his head even lower. It seemed he was less working and more playing during work hours. It's amazing the company didn't go under within 3 years with such a CEO.
Think about how many employees have suffered because of you. You've even been embezzling company funds. That's a crime. You can no longer continue as the CEO.
This was why my in-laws had grown tired of Lucas, and why they had recommended me, who had diligently served the family, to be the new president.
This can't be happening.
Lucas, having lost the absolute support of his parents, felt as if he was suddenly dropped into an abyss. The one leaving this house is Lucas. He slowly got up and stared blankly at the sky. Joseph grabbed Lucas's arm and mercilessly threw him into the pitch black outside. Afterward, Lucas and I divorced smoothly, and I received alimony. Of course, the property division was also done properly. Moreover, it turned out that Lucas had been embezzling my salary, which I made him repay. I wasn't working for free.
The company's money is my money, right?
He had surprisingly little savings, and after repaying the embezzled amount, Lucas was left with only a few $1,000s. That's why he was making a fuss about splitting the company's money. Such a confusion of public and private matters. Are you still thinking that way? The company's money isn't your money.
But I didn't even get severance pay. Isn't it terrible to be suddenly fired from being the CEO without any severance?
He didn't seem to understand the gravity of his crimes, but he would likely come to realize it soon enough. What Lucas did was embezzlement. It's a crime. It's only a matter of time before he gets arrested. You can't embezzle grandly and get away with it.
But really?
At 40, Lucas, stripped of his CEO title and penniless, was easily discarded by his 20-year-old mistress. Perhaps his daydreams had finally faded. Lucas's head was indeed empty. Lucas's desperation was palpable, as he didn't want to start over in a lower position after getting used to being the boss. It would be too humiliating. He also didn't want to get caught by the police. Lucas seems to be feeling anxious.
I want another chance. I want to be the CEO again. Let's make up. I won't fail this time.
If you want another chance, start from the job sites. Maybe you'll get hired somewhere if you're lucky.
No, I mean, I was the CEO. At least an executive position makes sense, right?
Sorry, but I take that back. If by any chance he does apply officially, I'll make sure as the current CEO to use my authority to deny his application. Ultimately, Lucas was arrested before he could even start job hunting. He might have gotten away with just a fine for the embezzlement alone. However, Lucas made an ill-advised move.
Isabella, you're all I have left. I need your help.
One day, I received a call from a public phone. It was Lucas. His whispering voice was hoarse and desperate.
I'll be thrown in jail. Hide me and tell the police I didn't embezzle anything.
When he was about to be arrested, he apparently tackled a police officer and fled. Where are you now?
At the small park near the house.
Got it. I'll head there right now. Wait for me. In addition to our almost fraudulent marriage, his infidelity, embezzlement, and now fleeing from the police, he probably acts impulsively without much thought. It's baffling how such a son could come from such intelligent parents.
Thank you, Isabella. Everyone left me since I'm no longer CEO. But you're different. I finally realized it. I love you, Isabella. And I know you love me, too.
In fact, I had just received a call from the police that Lucas had escaped. One of the officers was even hospitalized after being hit by him. I have no obligation to hide Lucas. The only option is to cooperate with the police.
I'm hiding in the park, waiting for Isabella to come.
Instead of me, the police will be the ones heading to Lucas's location. Opening the window of the second-floor balcony, I thought I heard a man scream from a distance. Lucas's stalking has ended, and I am busy working as the CEO. Though I was prepared to bear the burden, it turns out it's not only the CEO's to bear. I am supported by the employees. Unlike Lucas, who believed the CEO is all-powerful and treated the company as his own, I want to maintain a good environment.
Thank you for taking over the company, Isabella. I feel safe knowing it's in your hands. And while I appreciate your hard work, remember to take care of your personal life. Don't worry about Lucas or us. And if someone good comes along, consider remarrying.
After the divorce, the in-laws and I completed an adoption process, and they treat me not as a daughter-in-law, but as their daughter. I'm not thinking about remarriage. After all, I'm already in my mid-30s.
Did you imagine you'd be a CEO in your 30s?
Not at all. That was totally unexpected.
Well, then remarriage isn't out of the question either. It's your life. Live it joyfully.
Amy smiled warmly, her face lined with deep wrinkles.